thing.
I think a better question to ask is whether, like, how does the Craig Adams view that that goodness is just a synthetic property within God, how that gets you out of the second horn of the Euthyphro dilemma, right? Because it just seems like what
I'll just come in 5 minutes, please. Please spare me for 5 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I just think that what thinkers is just asking is what like most atheists ask, like, oh, if God commanded rape tomorrow, would you do it? Right? I don't like that. That's just unfruitful, to be honest. I don't.
Sorry. So you're thinking about which of the two horns?
The second.
It being
the second horn, or
so it being arbitrary.
No, the second horn.
Or being an external standard.
Right, like goodness is just an item that's external to God.
But how is it external if you're appealing to an internal property?
No, I'm just saying, look, the idea is that there's going to be like some causal explanation for why God is good, right?
Mm.
So if that's the case, if you're positing like goodness is just like something that's synthetically known, not analytically known, then the question is, in virtue of what is there a causal explanation for why God is good? That's why the second horn is brought, because that's made compatible. That views. What?
I don't understand though. I don't understand. Explain it to me, because if you appeal to God's nature, right? Then the whole point is to get out of the Euthyphro dilemma is like, well, either it is a standard that is external to God, or it is arbitrary. But so if you're thinking of the idea that, well, it's a standard external to God that God adheres to, and the theist gives you an internal explanation for the goodness, as in the standard is coming from within God, then why doesn't that get out of the
but look, here's the idea, right? The idea is that if there is a causal explanation for why God is good, then you could just say, well, the second horn is just going to be compatible with that, right? Because presumably it could be, it's possible to have a state of affairs where, in virtue of the good being external to God, it's within God's nature to always be in accordance with that standard, right? Are you seeing what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, but then that's not the... Okay, but then I guess the whole point is that, I mean, I wouldn't phrase it like that according God's nature makes it so that, he's always in accordance to an external standard. The whole point is that there is an inherent, primitive goodness in God, as in his nature, and that is what does the causal explanation for God's, I guess if you're talking about his moral commandments being good, that does the causal explanation with regard to his moral commandments being, good.
But wait, but then how does that? Wait, but how does then that refute the other one, where it just says goodness is external to God, but it's within God's nature to always be like this moral expert that commands what the good is?
I don't know what that means. Goodness is external to God. If you can explain that to me. What does that mean?
Just imagine goodness as like some abstract object, which God, it's within his nature to be that which manifests the good, right? He could be like some what some philosophers would call like some concrete exemplification.
Yeah, but
right?
That's not what I believe, of course. I mean, I don't believe that.
I know what your view is, but it seems like your view isn't like logically incompatible with the second horn.
Well, yeah, I'm not understanding why.
Because there's no incompatibility in saying that God has this intrinsic property of the good in virtue that he's always in accordance with what the good is, right? And the good is like some external property.
Why does the good have to be an external property? Why can't it be an internal property?
No, I'm saying that under this view, goodness is an external property, but God is the type of like agent or being that, internally speaking, is always in accord with that property. I don't see what
are you saying
the inconsistency is.
Okay, but are you saying my view has to logically rule that out? Because I mean, I don't believe so. I'm just saying that's not my view.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that, like, you want to be committed to the view that it's a false dilemma, right? That there's a third option. But I'm just saying is that the third option is just going to be compatible with the second option.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be incompatible with it. It could just be that there is a third option that possibly is mutually exclusive with the second.
Oh, but do you, okay, maybe let me express it this way. So do you think that since your view isn't necessarily incompatible with the second horn, that you're also going to be committed to the view that any critique that someone wants to give off of the second horn, that it doesn't apply to you?
But I'm honestly not sure that it's I'm just granting you that it's compatible, but I'm not, because the from my understanding, the response of like the modified divine command theory should be something like God's nature is what sets the standard. I mean, alongside the fact that God's nature would do the causal explanation. But God's nature is also the standard.
That doesn't make any sense. But look, God,
why doesn't that make sense?
Wait, but goodness is already a property within God, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and God can't like set his own properties, right? It's not like God like embellishes.
Yeah, he doesn't choose it. Yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah, okay, so then set isn't like the correct like term there. Like, are you just gonna say that he is synthetically known? Wait, but are you saying like it's just synthetically known that he is identical to the standard of good?
I'm not saying he's identical to the standard of good. I'm saying that the primitive property of goodness is inherent to God. It's within God. Now, are you telling me that because God has this property of goodness, it must be an instantiated property, that is, based in some kind of like abstract notion external to God?
Well, in one sense, yes. In one sense, no. The idea is that goodness can still be some external property that he's always been in accordance with. He's always been aware of this property, right? In the sense that he knows all true propositions, right? And if, goodness exists is a true proposition, he's always going to be epistemically in accord with that, right?
Yeah, but the idea is that Abdurrahman is saying that's not his view. He's giving another view. You're not saying it's contradictory. You're just trying to say that there's another possible option, and we would negate that option based on other considerations.
Exactly.
So there's really no argument for you bringing.
No, there is an argument, right? Because the idea is that there's no incompatibility with goodness being a property within God, but he is always in accord with some other property that's also being good.
Yeah, you're just saying that we cannot derive a contradiction from that proposition, but nobody's making that claim, so it's really irrelevant to the discussion.
No, but what I first asked him is, like, since he holds to this synthetic theory, right, that goodness is a synthetic property, I first asked, well, how does he like get out of the objections that people who hold to like the second horn bring up?
Yeah, but I get it. But what you're doing is you're saying that you can answer that in such a way to avoid it in a particular way at the first move, but then there's another card that comes back and hits you. The fact of the matter is, that's assuming a different view, which he doesn't hold to. So you're not really dealing with his actual view.
So, Abdul, so you want to just say something like, under no circumstance whatsoever, there's not going to be a state of affairs where God has to be in accord with something external to itself, like this moral property called goodness, but rather it's like some intrinsic property that by his nature he's always in accord with that. Okay, that's fine, right? But like sure, we could grant that and move on, but like I just wanted to point out that I mean, under most cases that's still like merging with the second horn, but we can move on, right? So you said something like,
but all you're saying is that look. All you're saying is that it's it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive with the first horn, in the sense that it's denial, as Jake put it. It's denial doesn't entail contradiction, and that also it's possible for you to kind of merge the second and third horn, but that's not taking that third option, as I put it forward, seriously, because with the qualifications I'm giving you, it is not, compatible with the second horn. So, I mean,
no. I understand what he said, right? But that's why I wanted to like talk about like. We could grant you that for the sake of argument, but I just want to know, like why you think categorical norms exist. Like,
that's a different question. That's not. No. That's a different question now, Darth. Because what you're doing is you are pressing on a particular point, and when I showed that it actually has no merit whatsoever, you're saying that you're granting it for the sake of argument. No, you're granting it because I argued against your position and I showed that it was bankrupt. And now you want to move on to another position because it doesn't actually apply to the argument. It doesn't actually apply to the position. And now you're wanting to move on to categorical norms, which is a separate discussion. We're not granting it for the sake of argument. You're granting it because the argument was shown that it was actually not correct.
Okay, so what part of the argument, which premise wasn't true within the arguments?
We just went over it, and you just accepted it.
No, but you accepted the conclusion that's going to be incompatible with the second horn, so I don't understand.
No, we just showed that your argument assumes a different view than Abdurrahman is representing. Therefore, it's not actually dealing with his position.
But who said that I was necessarily arguing that his position was false? I was just
I didn't say that you said it was false, but you were trying to say that it entailed falling victim to one of the horns of the dilemma, and we're showing that it necessarily doesn't necessarily do so. You're trying to configure it in such a way that it could, but under his current position, it doesn't fall victim to that. So you can't just say that for the sake of argument. No, we've explained the point that it doesn't.
I think I already explained that he could just take the second horn and then still consist with his position, right? Like he even agreed to that.
No, wait. So you can take the view that goodness is an inherent property of God and that it sets the standards of goodness, and you make that compatible with the idea that God is acts in accordance to an external standard of goodness. When the view literally says that the standard of goodness is set internally from within God, God's inherent nature. So how do you make those two compatible? You need to take that additional qualification and see whether the position is compatible with the second horn.
Yeah, what you're basically saying, well, if I remove one of the conditions that allows to avoid the second horn of the dilemma, then all of a sudden, well, it could be compatible with it. That's just taking a different position and not dealing with what we're actually saying. We're saying, no, the problem is you're neglecting an additional condition and stipulation, and that's why your argument doesn't even get off the ground.
No, but the argument was just to show that even if it's his position that there's some intrinsic property, right, it could just be the case that there's an intrinsic property which allows him to always be in accord.
Yeah,
with
all you're
good.
saying in that circumstances is that it's logically possible, and we've already granted
Exactly.
that. We're not arguing by necessity here. We're not like, I'm sorry to say, you're not dealing with some other people that are on here. We're not assuming that every argument or position that is held needs to be demonstrated by necessity and that all other possibilities need to be shown that they're logically impossible. We don't hold that position. So again, you're making an argument based on a false assumption.
Wait, but Jake, you realize that I just wanted to get clarification on what his view was, right? I wasn't even saying that. I didn't even ask him, like, is your view incompatible with the view that I described, right?
No, but Darth, what you're saying now, all you're saying is that what it essentially boils down to, all of this gymnastics and language, what it boils down to is, guys, there are other logically possible positions. Okay, so what?
And that philosophers can still use against the person who wants to argue that position, but isn't.
No, Darth, look.
Not if you add the additional condition that we've already established that negates that. That's the point. You're trying to say that because a particular position is logically possible, even though it's not the one that we hold to, therefore the dilemma can be used against our position. No, it can't, because we don't hold that position.
Yeah, Darth, see, the Euthyphro dilemma is trying to say that I need to take this position or that one, right? And apparently there's a problem with that. Now I'm providing you with a third option, which you have agreed can be put in a way that, makes it genuinely incompatible with the second. And then you say, okay, I can accept that for the sake of argument. And then
with the second. The whole idea is compatible with
with the qualification. The qualification I give you makes it directly contradictory with the second, in the sense that it is.
Wait, how?
The standard of goodness is internal to God, as in his nature sets the standard of goodness. It's not something external to him that he by nature conforms with. That's not like that. So when I give you that third option, and
with goodness. Well, what's the contradiction with goodness existing as a platonic object and God existing?
Did I say there's a contradiction? Again, you're going back to contradiction. But
you said it was incompatible.
What?
No, it's inconsistent with the view that we hold. That's what we said.
Okay. But he said he said that the view I stated was incompatible with his view, right? But I'm just saying, look, there's this platonic object of good. It's external to God, but there's also a type of good which God possesses. What?
Oh yeah, but
are those incompatible?
Didn't I already tell you I don't believe that? And maybe you.
Yeah, if we already have a prior metaphysic that negates these platonic objects of floating goodness, etc., then that's the additional condition that you're not considering. Our position doesn't hold to that.
Yeah, and I thought we moved past that, Darth. Like I already told you, I don't believe that God, basically his properties are instantiated from some kind of platonic realm, and you heard that and you acknowledged it. So I thought we moved past that. Now, when I do provide that third option, it's not that you're like, okay, let's move on for the sake of argument. It's like, okay, yes, your position does seem incompatible with the second horn, and does seem to be some kind of resolution to it. It's not like, oh, let's accept it for the sake of argument and then move on to another point. It's not for the sake of argument. Get it? For the sake of argument. It's like, you know what?
Yeah, he wants to move on to say that it's for the sake of argument because it was shown that the actual line of argument didn't work. That's why you want to move on to this other discussion.
How do you know that that's the case, right?
Because I can intuit it based on the way that you've responded.
I'm just saying for with the position that Abdul just gave, it could just be made compatible with any criticism provided with the second horn. That's why I don't think it gets out of the second horn, or else I wouldn't have asked.
So Darth. If let me I think you're using confusing language, right?
Wait,
So
wait, philosopher.
Yeah,
So,
wait
so
a second, man.
what's the second horn, Darth? What's the second horn?
That goodness is external to God, and he just acts like a moral expert.
Okay, and in my position, what's my position?
Your position is that goodness is some intrinsic property within God.
Okay, and the standard, because that's an important part. The standard of goodness?
The standard of goodness is God?
Okay, now, so the first one is that there's a standard that's external to God that he acts in accordance to. And the second is that the standard of goodness is God, or is from within God. You tell me how those two are compatible.
Look, because the standard of good could be an intrinsic property within God, but there could also exist another Platonic object which is also good that he's in.
No, we're saying it's intrinsic. We're explicitly saying that it's intrinsic to him and not extrinsic. We've already stipulated that, so it's not possible on the theory that we're providing.
So Darth, the way you want to actually structure the Euthyphro dilemma.
No, hold on, Mr. Philosopher.
Hold on, bro.
Hold on. We're having a conversation. You just come in here. There's like 8 other people on stage. You're not going to just jump over everybody else, man. It's not how it works. Go ahead, Darth.
So, did you understand what I said?
Yeah.
Did you understand what we've said for the past, 20 minutes?
Yeah, I've understood it. It
doesn't seem like it because you're not really accounting for the response.
I'm just saying that I don't see how it.
It's very simple. Number one, if we're saying that the property is intrinsic and not extrinsic, it negates that the standard is something that's extrinsic. And we can go even further to say that we don't even believe in such of a floating property or Platonic object as goodness. So we're saying that that's not the case, and therefore it negates that possibility given our theory.
Okay, wait a second. So you're saying that negates the possibility now, but when I gave you the view earlier, you said that it's not a problem that it's incompatible with the view I gave. And the view I gave was compatible.
Darth, we're saying that we do not hold to that, and we're adding something additional to the theory that you are not including in your critique. We're adding something into the theory, and you're not even attempting to account for that. You're just acting as if it's irrelevant.
Okay, fine, but do you agree that you said before that there wasn't some incompatibility, and now you're saying that there is an incompatibility?
What are you talking about?
No, you said when I was talking to Abdul Rahman earlier about the view that I gave, he said that it wasn't incompatible, and then you chimed in and said, well, the problem isn't we're not saying that it's necessarily impossible for those two views to coexist, and now you're saying that there is an incompatibility.
No. I'm saying given our prior commitments and the theory that we're actually defending and stipulating, then it's just the case that they do not cohere.
And that's contrary to your previous claim, right?
No, never. I never said anything other than that.
Wait,
we've been saying this the entire time.
Abdul, didn't he say earlier that it doesn't matter if the two views are compatible?
No, I didn't even talk about that. I told you that they're not compatible because there's something additional to our theory that doesn't allow for the objection.
Wait, but I'm pretty sure you said earlier that it doesn't matter if there's an incompatibility.
No,
you're misunderstanding. I said it doesn't matter if I can't rule out. Yeah, it doesn't matter if rejecting my theory about what I'm stating about the goodness of God, if rejecting it does not entail a logical contradiction. I'm saying that doesn't matter. We're not arguing that point.
Okay.
That's what I said. Thank you.
As in, the view doesn't rule out logically the other two options. in the dilemma, Darth. That's basically that's all he's saying.
Okay, because what I thought he said earlier, and maybe I was wrong, but someone might check in the replay earlier, that like he there isn't a necessity for him to rule out other things which considerably are logically possible with your view, right?
Not logically possible from within.
No, that's not what I said.
It's just logically possible to negate the view that he's.
Yeah, it's just logically possible
earlier.
simpliciter. That's what I said.
Okay, so there's no contradiction in negating it, but it's not necessarily compatible with Abdul's view.
Correct.
What?
There's no. My point was saying it's not contradictory to negate my view from a purely logical standpoint. It's based on metaphysical considerations.
Okay, like sure, but like, so then I would ask then, like, why, like, okay, let's just say that the thing in question is not logically impossible. It's like metaphysically impossible. Let's say for what the other guy was bringing up earlier, that's metaphysically impossible for God to command something that's immoral. And I just want to know why, because presumably just because God has this intrinsic property of goodness that we can grant, how does it follow from that there's like something preventing him from ever actualizing anything immoral? I don't understand. So my question is how is it metaphysically impossible for God to command something which is immoral? Like, in virtue of what is that impossible? I'm not asking you what the claim states.
Sorry, I'm not sure. So, Darth, are you asking, like, is this a separate question? It's not related to the. So how we move? Because I haven't.
No, yeah, we moved on. We moved on. Although okay, I might like bring up like further thoughts in the future about. Like,
okay, that's fine. But so
no. So hold on a second. So are you conceding the point?
No, I'm not conceding. When did I concede?
Okay, so then I'm not willing to move on. I'm not willing to move on until you're willing to concede that you misunderstood what we actually said. That your objection does not actually apply to our position.
Why would I be under like any normative consideration to concede to you? Like
you don't have to, but then I would just dismiss you as a dishonest person and remove you from the stage.
I just wanted to have a conversation with Abdul.
I know you don't want to have a conversation with me. I feel it.
Well, what do you mean you don't know? Like,
I said I know that you don't.
Access to my mental state?
I know that you don't. Yeah, I know that you don't. I know that you don't because I know that you don't because I know it's hard on you right now. I know it's hard on you.
Darth, you conceived the point anyway. You're just not willing to say it up front.
That's the point, brother. You're not being sincere. And once I see that you're not being sincere, I'm not interested in the conversation with you. How about that?
Well, I want to have a conversation here with anyone.
You do or you don't?
No, I do. I said I do.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem is so you see the issue is the reason I think Jake does have a point here. I mean, all you have to do is just concede that the critique doesn't apply. It's fine, because what you said earlier was a bit strange. When we wanted to move on, you said I can accept it for the sake of argument. Well, that's a bit strange considering you were trying to say that, hey, this solution doesn't work for X, Y, Z reasons. And then when it was shown that those reasons are false and that the solution potentially does work, you said, I'm going to accept this for the sake of argument.
For
the sake of argument.
You
did say that.
I never said anything amounting to that.
We've got the
You never
You
replays
said
on,
did,
bro.
brother. You
That's
said,
exactly what
yeah,
you said.
you said you will concede. Yeah, listen, no. You said that you'll grant it or something when they
Yeah,
obviously
I said
proved
I'll
it to
grant
you.
it for the sake of argument,
Yeah.
but that doesn't I concede it.
Yeah, but then when we
That's the
But then you
Exactly.
conceded. But you just conceded a
hold
few
on a
minutes.
second.
Yes, you
Hold on.
did.
Just
Hold on a
because I
second.
grant
That's the point.
something
Because
that-
you granted for the sake of argument, and we said no. We're not willing to move on for you to say that you're granting for the sake of argument, because we could smell out that you said that because you realized that your critique was not working. So we pressed it further and we demonstrated a second and a third time. And now we're back at the original point, whether or not you're willing to actually be honest and concede that your critique was based on either a misunderstanding or a misrepresentation of our actual position, in which your argument doesn't apply to.
Look, the only thing that I said was that I granted it for the sake of argument. That doesn't mean I necessarily agree.
Exactly. That's why we didn't move on.
Jake,
I didn't.
One second. Darth, listen, Darth, 1 second. Look, your critique was that the position is compatible with the second horn. Now, when it is shown that the position is incompatible with the second horn, you're not just accepting that for the sake of argument. You are conceding.
No.
And
wait,
what do you mean?
hold on
You're
a second. Right?
Listen, one
you
second.
said
Let me
earlier
just finish
that
and then I'll let you go. Let me finish and I'll let you go. You're not conceding. Conceding here doesn't mean you're accepting the position and you become a divine commander. Conceding means that you are accepting that your critique that the position is compatible with the second horn did not work. Now you wouldn't be accepting that for the sake of argument. You would be accepting that period. That's the point. There's nothing for this is for the sake of argument.
I could have just granted that because I wanted to move on, not just because I realized that it was shown to be false.
Exactly, but we're not wanting to move on. We're telling you that we actually showed you that you were incorrect, and you said okay, and then you wanted to move on. But before we moved on, we wanted to make clear to you and the audience about what happened. And now you're not agreeing to what happened, and that's why we're not moving on.
But Darth, from the discussion earlier, before you said let's move on and I'll accept it for the sake of argument, and after what followed, it seems like you are accepting it. You're not just accepting it for the sake of, you're accepting that this position that's being put forward is incompatible with the second horn, which means that you're accepting that your initial critique simply did not work. I mean, it's fine to say that. I mean, like, I just don't get why you would be saying that, hey, I accept that for the sake of argument. When every question you asked me earlier, I was giving you positions or qualifications that are mutually exclusive with the second horn. So it's like after we go through all the factors that are involved in assessing the position and whether or not it's compatible with the second horn, and we figure out, okay, the answers do seem to be inconsistent with it. You're like, okay, let's move on for the sake of argument. No. You should be like, okay, I get that. The position does not seem to be compatible with the second horn. That's the point.
So you realize that when I said that there were arguments I wanted to add on, Muslim Metaphysician chimed in and said, "No, I'm not going to let you move on until you concede this point." Right? I said
because Darth, you wanted to move on to a separate point. He's telling you,
not exactly. It was sort of related because I wanted to know what your metaphysical view.
Yeah, but they asked you, and you said it is a separate.
Darth, you said it was a separate point, unrelated.
Darth, 1 second, guys. So you're moving on to another point that I know related to categorical norms, right? And now here's the issue, because earlier in the discussion we touched on these. On categorical norms, and I already told you that the answer assumes it. Now you assumingly critiqued the position and the answer with that background assumption that categorical norms are assumed here. So you would literally be moving on to another point in the sense that your critique would be taken elsewhere, because within your critique we were already assuming categorical norms. So moving on.
Yeah, and you're also but he's also then admitting that in order for his critique to supposedly work, he needs to add something additional to his prior critique, which was not present. which is our point, which is what we've been saying the entire time.
Yeah,
So
but
if you're
Jake, it's
willing to
not
grant
just
that, then
something
we can-
additional, Jake. It's something additional that we already
know,
agreed
but-
is an assumption. Yeah.
Exactly. But my point is, in the mere fact of him saying and stipulating that it's an additional point that he was not driving at or making previously, it shows that our response up until now has been successful. In other words, his initial critique lacked something which was necessary to undermine the position.
Okay, so in what sense does because I'm arguing that his view is going to be compatible with any critique that's given of the second horn. Like, which critique do you disagree with? Let's just go with that.
I mean, we're spinning in circles, dude. Now we're really going back to square one. Abdurrahman, I don't know where to really take it at this point, to be honest.
Let me try to understand that question, Darth, so I can know if we're just gonna have the same discussion all over.
Just ask Darth. Is he trying to do an internal critique against Abdurrahman's view?
He is. That's what he's trying to do.
No, but Darth,
No, but he's not. He's not, though.
He's not. But is that what he's trying to do? Is that his Darth? Are you trying to demonstrate an internal critique on the Abdurrahman's view?
An internal critique, yeah.
Well, you're not doing it.
You're not doing that. You're bringing in your own positions or your own metaphysics.
No. Like, why would I be bringing in my own?
I mean, maybe you were doing it unintentionally,
asked-
Darth. Maybe you were doing it unintentionally, but you did bring in a certain understanding of like properties and abstract objects and stuff like that. And when I asked you why the hell do I have to accept that, there was a bit of a pause there in the sense that you have to ask me about my view, with regard to certain considerations that directly affect the position. Not just assume certain metaphysical positions and critique the position on that basis. So I mean, that's one thing. But right now, I don't know. It seems like you're asking the exact same question you were asking earlier. You just rephrased it, and we're gonna have the same discussion all over again.
Yeah, Darth, what you have to do is you have to take what Abdurrahman is saying. Abdurrahman's, he's got his own particular reasons why he's adopted his position, but one of the things is that he's taken a logically possible explanation, and then you've got to demonstrate how his explanation, which is logically possible, somehow falls into one of the key critiques, that it entails that. Now, if you can't show it entails it, but rather you have to add extra metaphysics, then you're not doing an internal critique now.
Do you know what the second horn of the Euthyphro dilemma is?
Yeah, if you've repeated it several times, man, why are you asking a question which we've been over several times? Darth, honestly, it seems like you're not. It doesn't seem like you really want to continue to talk.
Well, it doesn't seem that way to you, but I'm just like asking this person if he knows what the second horn is.
Well, he's been listening the whole time, so he knows. You can repeat it again if you want, but can you please actually deal with his point about internal critique?
I mean, I gave an internal critique.
And are you admitting that thus far your internal critique has not been successful?
No, like, why would I admit that?
Because you're saying that you needed to move on to a different point in order to make your point.
Wait, how does it follow from the fact that I said I wanted to move on, or like, let me grant that for the sake of argument, that's going to be...
Because we're saying that we don't want to grant it for the sake of argument. We want to stick on this point to see the merits of the argument up until this point, and then we'll move on to a different point when we come to some sort of impasse or possible agreement on this. That's what we want to do.
What do you guys want him to agree on? I don't get it. Like, I've been here for some time, I don't understand.
No, let him.
So does goodness being an intrinsic property within God prevent there from being some other object which is external from God, which is also good? That's my question. That's like been my question this whole time.
No, I'm sorry, Darth. Come on. So, okay. So, how about this? What was our answer to the question? Since you're saying right now, you can repeat. Wait, Darth. Because there's a rhetorical point here that's important. You're saying that's been my question the whole time, as if we haven't answered it. So, my claim is that we've answered it several times, and you're the one who hasn't been listening. So, if you would kindly remind me what our answer was.
That you said that in virtue of you positing that goodness was intrinsic to God, you're ruling out that it's external to God. So it would be made incompatible with the second horn. But I'm just saying is that there's a state of affairs where goodness is intrinsic to God in one sense. There's at least one property of goodness which is intrinsic to this concrete object called God. And then there's another property of goodness which is external to God, right? So
haven't we discussed that?
With the second horn.
haven't we ruled that out?
But you just saying that you want to rule it out doesn't show why it's incompatible with the position. You're just
because the position. No, I'm not begging the question. I gave you a reason. I said that if the position states
you
that
don't know the ontology.
Sorry?
I'm granting you that goodness is intrinsic to God, but there's some other aspect of goodness which is going to be extrinsic to God, like another form of the good.
Yeah, but I'm denying that, and I'm saying
good property.
So
but we're explicitly denying that.
This is where you stepped out of an internal critique.
Yeah, exactly. This is the point. We're denying that, and therefore you're not engaging in an internal critique. That's the point.
No, but I am, because I'm granting that goodness is intrinsic to God.
No, you're not. But you're leaving it only on that level. We're saying it's not merely intrinsic to God. We're also saying that your further conception of this Platonic realm of goodness does not exist, and that's part of our theory. That's been stipulated several times. So you're not doing an internal critique.
Yeah, so Darth, have we or have we not ruled out the idea that there is an external standard that God conforms with, and have we or have we not ruled out that God's goodness is an instantiation of some kind of abstract object?
No, because your view is that he doesn't conform to this property of goodness, and I'm saying that in virtue of your view saying that goodness is intrinsic to God, it's still possible that within one of those properties, he conforms to an external standard. And there's no...
Okay, in the same way it's possible for me to be good, like I can have a property of goodness and I'm conforming to some kind of standard of goodness. I mean, me having the property means I'm going to just necessarily, adhere to, whatever moral standards are objectively true. But that's not what I'm saying about God. So it's not like God is inherently good, therefore he by nature does what is good, when in fact what is or isn't good is determined by an external standard. That's not the position.
Brother, assalamu alaikum. Sorry to cut you guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. And may Allah bless you, brothers. You know what you're doing. And just try to stop you. The point is, I listened to the Darth, what he's talking about, Abdurrahman is talking about. Sorry to say that you played around the bush. Why I say that? Because you need to understand the concept. Okay, let me ask you a simple question. This will finish everything what you're talking about now. Is stealing or taking something, is it good or bad?
Is stealing good or bad? Mm-hmm. I think neither. I don't think any moral properties exist.
I'm asking you a question. Is stealing good or bad for you? In your way. Answer my question.
It's not. It's neither of those.
So then you don't have your own intellect to use. You're telling me that I could start raping a man, or raping a woman. Sorry, forgive me. I'm not gay, but raping a woman.
No. Hold on a second, W. You're going way off track here.
Wait.
No. You're going way off track, bro.
Wait. I tell you.
You're derailing the conversation. With all due respect, you're derailing the conversation. Sorry, go ahead, Darth.
Well, he was asking like what my view was on like whether or not stealing was good or bad, and I said neither because I'm an error theorist.
Right. So, but my point is, it's irrelevant to what we've discussed thus far.
Yeah, like this isn't about like what I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah. No disrespect, bro, but that was irrelevant.
No,
But
it is, brother. You know why?
But it might be irrelevant, like in a very like from a very far point that's like somehow relevant to this, but it's not. It's gonna take us really far. So Darth, my point is that it's not like, and you should have understood this, to be honest, that it's not like I'm saying there's this intrinsic property that just causally makes God, conform to an external standard. That's if that's what you understood, then I'm not sure you've been listening, because we outright deny.
No, come on, Abdul. He knows we haven't said that. The point is that his objection can only work if he doesn't actually account for us saying that, which is what we've been saying the whole time. Therefore, you're not doing an internal critique. You're either misrepresenting us or what. I don't know what your purpose is, but we've said several times that our position negates that.
Brother Jake. I think we are wasting our time. So
yes, you're right.
There may be other person who are actually.
No, hold up. They're coming to like a conclusion.
By the way, guys, can I just say two sentences, and I will leave. Can I just say 2 sentences? Basically, I don't know why somebody removed me. I don't want to be an admin in the job, but I was trying to finish this in 2 sentences because the reason I don't want to be an admin, I'm a conveying message. That's it. The question is, if he says that stealing, he doesn't know it's good or bad, then he's not using his own intellect. Then it's finished. That's it. But you want to sake of debating. So I say that. Wait, let me finish.
Hold on. That's irrelevant.
Let's get back to the internal critique.
That's irrelevant. Sorry, W. It's irrelevant to our discussion.
Yeah, but what?
We're not trying to attack the guy to say he's not using his intellect because he doesn't think that stealing is wrong. We're not interested in that. Sorry.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
W, brother, listen to me for a second.
I didn't say that.
Wait, listen to me for a second. He's trying to see if our view is consistent. So his view is irrelevant to this. So that's the point. So right now you saying, you discussing his beliefs about morality is not really going to help here. It has no influence on
It does. You know why? It does. Because the reason why, automatically, if he says stealing...
He's doing an internal critique. His beliefs have nothing to do with the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point.
I mean, W, I know what you're trying to do, brother, but it's just not,
They're supposed to have nothing to do with it, but as they're demonstrating, he's not actually doing an internal critique. Because one of the fundamental positions that we hold to that doesn't allow for his objection to go through, he's not taken into consideration, and that's what we've been pointing out.
No, but you understand that my view doesn't have anything to do, Abdul, with God having this intrinsic property that causes him to be in accordance with some external standard. I didn't mention anything about causality.
No, you're saying it's possible for God to have this inherent property of goodness.
I'm just saying it's conceivable that God, we can grant your position that goodness is an intrinsic property within God, that God is the standard of goodness, that there's no platonic objects. We can even grant that right. What I'm just saying is that God can still have this intrinsic property and still be in accordance with the subset of other properties which are also good, right?
Yeah, but if you also stipulate as part of the theory that those don't exist, then they couldn't, right?
Wait, sorry?
If you also stipulate as part of the theory that not only is God the standard of it and that it's intrinsic to him, but that there is no other source that is a platonic object of goodness outside of...
No, I didn't say any... In this view, there is no mention of platonic objects. It's just saying, look... You could think, for example, we didn't even have to go with the first horn. We could just go We could just you don't even have to go with the second horn. We could just say with the first horn, right? You could just say goodness is intrinsic within God, and in virtue of that, whatever He commands is just going to be morally upright, right?
You're moving to a different point now. You're going to a different horn of the dilemma.
Well, the idea is how when I asked Abdul first of all, how does his view deal with either of the two horns? It just deals with the Euthyphro dilemma in general, because he thinks it's a false
you were
dilemma.
pressing on a particular horn of the dilemma that you thought that our position would result in, and that's what we've been dealing with. Now you're moving to a different horn of the dilemma. It's a different conversation.
What do you mean? Look, he thinks that the Euthyphro dilemma is a false dilemma, so he thinks that there's a third option. But because I don't think it's a false dilemma, I could bring up either horn and ask him, well, how does his view get out of either the first or the second horn? That's perfect.
Yes, and the point is you have not been able to reduce our position to either one of the two horns. You haven't been able to.
Wait, Jake, I just provided a view. The view is that...
Yeah, you provided a view that is not ours. Therefore, you have not reduced our view to one of the two horns.
Wait,
what are you talking about?
No, Abdul thinks that goodness is internal to God, right? Abdul, I just want clarification.
Not merely. You keep leaving stuff out.
Yeah, okay, it's not merely...
Give me a second. I just need to reconnect.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm just saying...
Yeah, Darth, this is not going anywhere, bro. You're trying to move on to a different point. We've tried to stick to the same point to show that you're not able to reduce our position to either one of the two horns. And now you're trying to say that you have. You haven't. You've been unsuccessful in doing so.
Can I bring out the critique to you, right? The idea...
No, not if you're just going to repeat the same thing. We've heard you several times.
Look... The view is that goodness is internal to God, it doesn't have to be merely internal to God. I can accept what Abdul is saying, and I'm just saying is that the divine command theorists can just say, well, look, goodness is not merely internal to God, it's still internal to God, but in virtue of that internality, whatever He commands is always going to be good. So how is your view incompatible with the first horn?
Were you talking about the second horn or the first one before?
I was talking about the second horn, but now...
Okay, so now you're moving on to a different argument to try to... because you were unsuccessful in reducing our position to the second horn, you're trying to reduce our position to the first horn. Is that right?
Jake, why are you commentating? Like, why?
No, because look, what I'm showing is what I'm showing is your tactics are not working here, and I have to point that out to the audience because you try to slick talk people and beguile the audience with your speech, and it's not going to work. Your tactics are not working.
No, you're stopping him. No, listen. No. Brother, Brother, wait. Well, can't you listen?
First of all, you don't know how to argue, and I'd recommend for any Muslim who's listening in the audience or even on stage to access the link above, because to be quite frank with you, the Muslims on Clubhouse do not know how the hell to argue with people, okay? And that's why you guys get embarrassed half the time. So we have to step up and show that these people, like Darth and his friends, I'm sorry, you're not going to bully us around. You're not going to beguile us with your speech. It's not going to happen. And what we showed is that you were unsuccessful to reduce our position. Hold on a second, because now I'm moving to my rant, okay? And you've been moved to the audience. Now, my point is, what's not going to happen is what you think that you normally do with most people. It's not going to fly when I'm here and when Abdurrahman is here and when Sharif is here. It's not going to fly. We're not going to let it happen. And we're not going to move on for the sake of argument because we show that your position is not actually correct. We show that you were unable to reduce our position to the second horn of the Euthyphro dilemma. So now you're moving to try to reduce our position to the first horn. Sorry, bro. I'm commentating because I'm giving a summary because I'm smart enough to follow along with the conversation and I see every moving part, and I know what's going on. I know exactly what you're doing. It's not going to happen. Plain and simple.
This is just power abuse.
Yeah, let's move on with the few. I mean, we gave him a lot of opportunities to be sincere.
Yeah, the point is conceded. His internal critique is therefore invalid.
Rishi or Thinker, if you want to say
He
something.
was conflating the Platonic understanding for quite a while.
Yeah, I want to ask that if your view is that it's metaphysically impossible for God to do something immoral, like murder or something, that is your position, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
I'm sorry, I'm a bit limited right now, but yeah, yes, it's metaphysically impossible. Yeah.
Okay, so then in that sense, I would say that human beings would be in some ways, or certain human beings would be in some ways more morally superior than God, because God, it's impossible for God to do anything morally wrong. He can't do it, but somebody who for him it's possible that he can do bad but still refrains from doing bad, then he would be more superior morally speaking as an agent than God, who it's impossible for God to.
I think the problem.
That's 1 second. Yeah. So is this going to be based on a what moral standard is this criterion going to be based on?
It's more like an intuition that we have, that somebody who is incapable of doing bad is less of a less morally superior than someone who, for someone who it is possible that he can do both bad and good, but he chooses to do good. That person will always be superior to the one who can never do good, can never do. Like I said, I think it's very intuitive.
No, you're saying it's intuitive. It's not to me.
Also, I think there seems to be a bit of a category error. I mean, in order for you to make that comparison, you need to put two agents on like level playing grounds and then make that judgment. However, when it comes to God, it seems like when you appeal to God's goodness and say that God is good and that His commandments are good, you're basically having a meta-ethical discussion about the source of goodness. So it doesn't seem like you're going to put God on level playing ground with a human and see that, oh, he is morally upright versus, he is more morally upright. I don't think that's a possible comparison. They were comparing two agents in completely different categories. The first agent is the agent that is the source, not just of all goodness, but of everything, and that sets the standard. And the second are agents who basically were created and put together on a level playground with each other to basically be tested. So it's not like I don't think that judgment works. I think there's a bit of a category error there.
But doesn't it work with angels? Like mankind is ashraful makhlukat. The angels only do good, but mankind is superior to angels because mankind has free will, and
but you're not focusing. Thinker, angels are still on level playing ground with us in the sense that they are created, and if you're going to make that judgment, you're making it based on that standard. That they are in a different category. They are in the category of the created realm that adheres to standards, not in the category of the source of the standard. You can't judge the law by its own self. I mean, in that sense, like that's not going to work.
What I'm saying is,
I'll just listen. Thinker, I'll just add to the one point to the Abdul Rahman's what he's saying. So this is what I've learned. So it is very clear thing that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala have mentioned that whenever you actually define something by your own self. I understand where you're coming from. You're saying that if a person having two options and then he controls himself, so it makes a better person. So I agree with your point, but in the case of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what is the case is that he himself have mentioned and made some obligations to himself, like he, as he mentioned, as we know in the Quran, that he mentioned that my mercy will always overpower my anger. So like this is a factor that he stated for himself. So similarly, we also believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't do anything which doesn't befit his majesty. Like for example, God doesn't commit crime. So because crime is a wrong act, or you can say it's a shameful act. So anything that doesn't befit the majesty of God, we cannot associate that thing to God, because God himself have assigned this thing that he will not do that thing. So I mean, when we are talking upon this thing becomes irrelevant that God commits crime or God doesn't have free will and all those things. Yeah. Brother Abdul Rahman, if you want to continue, or if you want to correct my point.
Please.
Yeah, it's similar to like saying, like, Thinker, you could say that, like, okay, so, let's say I'm weak, so it's more impressive if I go and beat, like, a bunch of guys up. But God, dominating the same group of people is not going to be as impressive. I mean, it's that kind of category where, in the sense that it's just not, I think you're judging, you're using a standard, you're using the standard in the wrong way to judge two agents in completely different categories.
Abdul, did you hear what I said about the view that you hold, where goodness could just be internal to God, and the divine command theorists can just say, well, in virtue of goodness being internal to God, anything that God is going to command is always going to be moral. Now the question is, how does your view get out of what the divine command theorist is going to want to be committed to?
Wait, but aren't you? Because I wasn't listening, so sorry. Because I was a bit occupied. But then listen. Look, so aren't you now talking about arbitrariness, which is a different story?
Well,
yes, he moved to a different. He tried to move to a different horn of the dilemma. He tried to move to a different horn of the dilemma, and that's why I removed you. And now I'm removing you from the room.
Yeah, Darth, I mean, that seems like you're talking about a completely different horn, man. It seems like you're talking about...
He already admitted that, Abdul. That's the point. He already admitted that. He said he's moving on to now the first horn of the dilemma rather than the second one. And where I'm not tolerating the dishonesty. Sorry. We're not going to allow you to make an objection, and then when we show that the objection is not founded, you refuse to accept it and admit it. No, we're not going to take it for the sake of argument. This is an atheist